Hi friends, welcome to my workshop. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of share some of my process as I start to work on some special Christmas Snuggets. I'm thinking of doing like a Snuggets stocking stuffers set. And the idea is to have things that can be either used as ornaments or as fidget toys. And I've gotten my first prototype prints off the printer this morning, so just wanted to kind of talk you through what I'm thinking and share the iteration as it happens. So this is my first idea, which is a Coke snowflake. It's a fractal, which starts from an equilateral triangle, and then you cut each side into thirds and replace the middle segment with two sides of a new equilateral triangle. So now you end up with 12 new line segments that are all the same shape, or the same distance, same length. This is the first step. So you see you go from a triangle in the first step to the 6-pointed star, and you just keep iterating. So then you do the same thing. Each line segment gets the middle third replaced like this, and you can keep going, and it makes this kind of fun snowflake shape. So you can see the third version is this, and then the fourth one looks like this. And I actually did print a fifth one, but it got so fine that the printer couldn't keep up, and the slicer just made like little round edges instead of adding the correct nubs to it. So I'm just gonna stick to 4. And I do like the way it looks. I wasn't really sure how it would look when it all hangs together, but if you get it all lined up properly, which is really annoyingly fiddly, and that's one of the things I want to change. If you get it lined up properly, it makes this kind of cool, like geometric snowflake deal. So what I like about this prototype is that you can see the 4 different levels and kind of play with it and flip them around. I think I'm going to want to have like a cute ribbon or something instead of this key ring eventually. But this feels way too flimsy, like it keeps kind of tangling in this annoying way, and it's just too thin. It printed super fast, which is great. I think it took me like an hour to do all 4 of these on one bed. But I'm gonna make it thicker, like thicker this way, and also thicker in terms of cutting in. So like, it'll look maybe something more like this. I'll have kind of a chunky triangle with just a little bit of that negative space poking through for the next layer, and then you'll see the ones below it, etc. You get the idea. So my next prototype for this one is going to be thickened. I'm going to have a less complicated cutout. Like right now I just used the second iteration. I used this one's cutout on this one just to make it simpler, but I think I'm just going to use the 6-pointed star as the cutout for all the future layers to keep things easier. I also am thinking about adding in some branding. So if I put in my little Snuggets shell here, I can like have that kind of sitting in the middle. It kind of works with a triangle, I feel like. Snuggets. And that I think will be kind of a cute ornament. So that's the, I'm gonna call it a fractal flake. That's my fractal flake. The second prototype I have so far is this guy, which is really just a slightly modified version of a fidget that I downloaded and printed a while ago, which is just these kind of interlocking rings. And it's really fun. I really like the way that it moves. You can hold the middle of it and spin the outside. You can hold the outside and spin the middle. There's all kinds of interesting ways that it can like, shift around like an eyeball, and it's just a fun thing, and it all kind of holds together for the most part, though I have noticed if you give it a good tug, it will come out. They just, you print it all in one piece like this, and then they're just held in by the curvature of each one. They're basically just spherical shells. So they're all spheres like this, and you just kind of cut this middle section out. Izzy. As I was saying, it's basically just a slice of a bunch of nested spheres. And I kind of like, I mean, this really came out moving nicely, at least the internal ones. The external layers, the furthest ones at the outside are kind of printed a little off, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem because of like heat or something. You can kind of tell the bottom of this outer layer got a little wonky. Anyway, they're held in by this curvature, so they kind of nest into each other. This guy here has 4mm chunks. That's the thickness of the rings, with 1mm separations between them, 1mm gaps. So I think I'm going to stay with that for now, but I am going to try to make it a little thinner because I want it to print faster. I think this took close to 2 hours. I'd love to move closer to an hour just so I can make a lot of them and sell them for reasonable prices. This is 15mm. I'm probably going to go for like 10. And the question will be, if I make this thinner and like eat into more of this curvature, will the outermost rings still be able to hold on enough to keep from just popping out all the time? This outermost ring already comes out pretty easy because this can kind of flex a little bit and there's not a whole lot of curvature holding it in. So that's kind of an open question. I'm just going to try 10mm, see what happens. The other idea that I have, I kind of wanted to add something more special to this because it is very similar to a fidget that I saw online. And as I was playing with it, I was thinking about how there's so many kind of degrees of freedom to it. And I could imagine having like a picture on it that can be scrambled and then reassembled by like rotating them all right. So I'm thinking what I'll do is again, go for some branding. So I'll have like a cute little ribbon, have all these little circles, and then maybe I'll have my Snuggets shell here. Maybe even with writing if I can get away with that. It might be too small. And this can be scrambled up and then kind of like solved. So that's kind of a fun added mechanism that I'm hoping will keep this fun to play with and be kind of intriguing. So yeah, my next test with this will be 10mm, adding on some branding. This guy is also going to be thicker with some branding, and we'll see what happens. I'm pretty happy with where these two are going. I think they could be good little fidgets. Some other ideas I have that I'm playing with are a pass-through Christmas tree. So these pass-through toys are really popular. It's like you cut something out of the middle, and you can like slide it in and out, but you don't just cut out like a cylinder, you cut out something that is rotated. So like you take a star and you like kind of spin it into this like spiral thing, and then that's what goes inside. This is really hard to draw. This would be like this central plug that goes into the Christmas tree, and so it'll like spin out and spin back in, kind of like a screw goes into or a bolt goes into a bolt hole, you know? Anyway, I'm gonna do this kind of thing and have like a little star on top that is small enough that it can fit through the whole thing. So you'll end up with like a little tree where you can see there's like something going on inside of it and a little star at the top, and this will be able to come out. I'm not totally sure how to like hang this as an ornament because this part can just fall down, so I have to think about that. Maybe I like put a hole through both of them that'll like lock them together or something. Anyway, pass-through Christmas tree is an idea. I also kind of want to do something with like a little peppermint. I just think they're cute and would be fun to print with like red and white. So you have like a peppermint shape, and maybe you have like some wrapper-like things, like a thin little wing that comes out, and you can spin this, and maybe inside there's like a little clicking ratchet. So you just like twiddle at it and it goes click, 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 click. Or maybe it's like a little hamburger and you can like click down on it and it clicks that way. Some kind of peppermint clicker. And then my last idea that I'm still considering is another snowflake that is like a fidget spinner more. Because those are really fun. And this is from one of my shows. I did this thing a while ago where I had these like fidget stars, and they would have like a spinning button in the middle, so you put your thumb on there and you can spin it around. But this wasn't solid, this was like kind of a winding spring, it goes back and forth. And it actually works super well, especially if you put some weight on the ends. It's got this really satisfying like boing thing going on, and you can kind of like spin it and thwack it. So I'm thinking about maybe doing something like this, but a snowflake for Christmas. So you have like the central spinning axis, and then maybe you have, I'm kind of playing with like this shape. It's kind of like a bent version of that, and that gives you a little bit of like the classic snowflake shape. So imagine like 6 of those, and then, I don't know, some kind of weight at the end to kind of like give it some more dynamic movement. The problem with this guy is I want to make it small enough for a little kid's hand, and like this is my prototype spinning center, which is way too chunky right now. But if this is my center, you know, I don't have that much room to make these springy bits, especially if I'm adding weights to the end. So I kind of have to think about that. But yeah, those are all the ideas I have. I have too many ideas. I'm going to keep doing some more prototypes, see which ones are the most promising, maybe decide on like 2 or 3 of them. And my goal is to show these at November and December First Fridays at Stanley Marketplace, and maybe sell them for like $5 each if I can get the print time down enough, kind of mass produce a little run and see how people respond. And I'm really excited to just share them and get feedback. I'm having a really fun time thinking about it and prototyping. And I just thought I'd share. Haven't posted on YouTube in a long time, but I finally got this little workshop set up where I can record some videos. Really curious what people think. If you have any ideas for me of things to try out or feedback on what I'm working on, let me know. And I'll see you next time.